Good morning, Vigor Warriors. How are we doing today? This is Vigor Warriors 2. Hope you guys are having a great day. We are June 7th, 2022. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm kind of waiting outside the post office for a few minutes here, so I figured I'd do a video. Thank you again for all the great comments, the subscriptions. I think we're 400 and some now, over 400, so that's wonderful. We're getting close to our goal of 500, our first goal, and we'll keep moving forward after that. And once again, thank you for donations. That's wonderful as well. It's always appreciated. And I hope the main thing is that you guys are getting a lot out of this. And we kind of continue this discussion with the 1% Club. So once again, a lot of good comments, types of things that we've had, and I want to focus on one today. I know I have a couple, Dex. Sorry about that, Dex. I will get back to your comments. We had a couple good comments that I've missed that I want to go back to, so in the next few days we'll try to cover those. But I had one last night that I didn't want to forget because it kind of pertains a little bit to what we're talking about. And we're talking about one by a person named Somebody. So thank you, Somebody, for the comment. And they were asking about caffeine free. He was talking about the fact, he or she, I'm not sure if it's a he or she, but they were talking about the idea that, according to the book of Brahmacharya, which is a great book he mentioned, that, caffeine free, you can learn a lot of these type of things in the art of Brahmacharya. So I would totally agree with you. I think that, and the question was asking me, am I caffeine free? And I would say no. So Somebody, thank you for the comment. Let me kind of explain more of that as we talk about this. But the idea is that let's go back to the beginning of this. So when I, in my search for truth and trying to be the best person that I can be, I ran across the book of Fountain of Youth, and back in 1998, and I ran into many different types of kind of philosophies and ideas about how to live life. Now, one of the things that I did not follow, that I had a lot of ideas for, was this idea of retention. And so I think that even though I made advances in certain areas, like I don't drink and I don't smoke and I don't gamble and I don't do drugs, all those type of things are addictions, and I don't overeat, even though I do eat too much at times, but I'm not sure you call that overeating, but I'm not addicted to the food. But the thing is that I had some successes in areas, but for a lot of years I had problems with the one area of retention. And now they're approaching 2 years of retention. I can kind of say that I don't remember that much anymore of that. There's times that I do get sensations of things, or obviously I see things, and those things become attractive type of things, but you have to learn how to transmute and to kind of control that behavior. So the controlling of that behavior is something that is the lesson to be learned that I think God is trying to teach us. And God is trying to sculpture us. And I'll kind of talk about that in a second. But the idea is that you're trying to go ahead and be sculptured into something that God wants you to become. And the idea here is that you're focusing on learning about discipline. And when you learn about discipline, you're learning how to go ahead and kind of have control in areas as much as you can. Now, there's some things you can't control, but there's other things you can control. And I think the whole idea is that you want to go ahead and learn how to control what you can. And then God will take care of the rest. And so in this one area, we talk about retention, we do that. Now, as far as this person, Somebody said, they talked about the idea of caffeine. And according to Brahmacharya, this behavior that you're using to control the retention is also something you can use to control other behaviors, because you're learning self-control. And so as you learn self-control, you're able then to kind of use the same behaviors and techniques when it comes to another type of thing. Now, in my goal setting, I have ones looking at sugar, which has been a problem of mine for many years. I grew up, as a teenager, having Pepsi and Dorito chips as a foundation for breakfast, which don't ask me why, but that's what was happening back in those days. And so I didn't realize how bad that was, especially for my teeth and different types of things over the years. And so the sugar is something I have as a goal. I also have caffeine as one of the goals, because sugar and caffeine had a lot to do with that pop that I used to drink all the time. Now, very rarely do I drink a pop anymore. And soda pop, something like Pepsi or Coke or something like that. I don't drink those anymore. I may have one every few months or something like that, but the whole idea is that I have lessened that, and my lifestyle change has made it difficult to do that, especially because I'm still using intermittent fasting and things like that. And so when you look at this, the whole idea is that you want to become caffeine-free, sugar-free, those type of things eventually, or using natural types of things that are better off for you. So to answer the question that somebody had posed, I am not caffeine-free, but I'm almost 100 times better than I used to be. And I think that's the whole key to what we're talking about. I think the whole thing about discipline, when we talk about caffeine and we talk about addictions, is the fact that the world is teaching us all the wrong things. And there's reasons for that. We've talked about those before. There's reasons why people want you to buy products. There's reasons why people want you to have different types of viewpoints. Part of it is economic, part of it is political, part of it is all kinds of social types of things that people want you to believe in because they're going to get some benefit from it themselves. And 99% of these things go against God. They go against God in one form or another. And I think a lot of that then becomes this idea of pleasure versus temptation. And as you look at the two, you have to kind of look at how the world is treating both of these. They view pleasure as being the key thing. Pleasure is what you live for. And that's the world that's been presented to us all this time. With all the stress and all the work and all the hard things you do, pleasure is more important. Now, I'm not saying that God doesn't want us to have pleasure. I interpret that as God does want us to have pleasure. But pleasure can be very addictive. And I think a lot of times people lose sight of God when they got the pleasure, and they lose sight of God. And you can't lose sight of God. God has to be forefront first when you're talking about all these things. It's nice to have hobbies, it's nice to have things you like to do, but don't forget God. It's great to have a wife, great to have a husband, great to have kids, but don't forget that God has given you all these things, and these are things you should be grateful for. So if you keep God at the forefront, then you have a better chance to deal with a lot of these type of things. But if God is not at the forefront, then you become addictive to these behaviors, and now the pleasure really outweighs any sort of anything else you're dealing with. And so the pleasure becomes the important part. So the question then becomes, because we all look at pleasure and we look at pain. Things sometimes don't go right for us. Sometimes things go right for us. But the question always becomes, why does God let us do this? And I think I was listening to a radio show the other day when this was on. Why does God allow us to have pain and suffering and things like that? And we're going through a lot of these times in this world right now. To me, from a global type of perspective, when you look at this, it looks to me like we're almost at the end days, unless we do something to stop it. The end days of all these lascivious behaviors that we see, all these sinful behaviors in society that we see on a daily basis that's being, promoted and emphasized and cherished like this is some sort of new age type of thing that people, oh, we're a modern type of world. Well, there's no modern world. People had these same issues and talked about these same issues for years on end. All you got to do is go back to the Bible to kind of see the same things occurring. It all led to destruction, whether it's Babylon, Sodom and Gomorrah, whether it was the Roman Empire, the Incas, it doesn't really matter. It was all the same type of thing. People were all looking at these lascivious behaviors that destroyed countries from within. And when you look at any dynasty after 250 years, it becomes really kind of lascivious from in between, from within. It destroys itself from within. So we look at this, we wonder why God is giving people hard times. Why do some people are able to have easier times? Because they're within the evil one. They don't realize it necessarily, but they're getting all these successes because the evil one is allowing this to happen. Because they want to get that person further and further away from God. So sometimes when you see all these celebrities and people making all this type of money and things like that, a lot of times it's because the evil one's allowing this to happen. While people who are believing in God, they're focusing on God, they are going through some rough times. Well, God is allowing this to happen. Now, why? That's the question. And this kind of goes into what we're talking about with all these addictions and things that we've kind of focused on. Well, the reason why, according to what I was listening to, which I think is a very good type of point here, is the fact that, and here was a story. There was a guy who was going through a lot of tough times. He lost his jobs, he lost his wife, he lost all these things. And he was kind of walking on a street, and they were doing some construction work, and they were refacing a house. So they were kind of changing the house, and they were kind of, it was like, 10, 15 story building. It's a house, a building. And they were looking at this, and this guy was a sculptor. He was sculpting this piece that would go up to the 20th floor on top, and, he would replace the piece. And the person who was actually walking, the gentleman who was having a rough time, he was saying to the sculptor, okay, well, sculptor, why are you down here sculpting this? Why don't you go up to the top and do it at the 20th story? And he was saying, well, God has to sculpt you first down here so that you become what you should be when you're up there. And I think that was a good thing. That the guy hesitated. He realized there was a lot of philosophy and a lot of wisdom in what the sculpture person said. And this is what's really happening to us. A lot of us who are going through hard times, who are going through tough times, realizing that we still believe in God, that we're not going to lose our hope, which is what the evil one wants. And we see this, and sometimes we're a little bit jealous, envious. Well, here we got all these people who are making all this kind of money. They're doing all these type of things. But in reality, it's because they're with the evil one. Now, they may not realize it, and they may have good intentions. But if they're not the type of person who is with the Lord, they're going to struggle eventually. Because even though the evil one is leading them to it, they are really becoming more and more shallow when it comes to God. And this is something that bothers me to no end. But the evil one, I hate the evil one. And, the evil one's tried different things on me over the years as well. And will continue to try. And I have to not get sucked into temptations, things like that. But realizing I'm being sculptured. And so the hard times are things I reflect back saying, thank you, Lord, for giving me these hard times. And because they make you end up rethinking and kind of working out what you're doing. Fasting is a good example of that too. When I fast, there comes a period of time where I'm hungry that it's almost like I'm just kind of hurting myself here, right? Not eating. But the thing is, once again, it becomes a period of time when that is over with, then you become stronger. And the same thing is happening with us. So to answer your question, somebody, I'm not caffeine free, but I'm getting better with caffeine, as I'm getting better with all these type of things too. All right, my friends. Well, enough for today. Hope you guys are going to have a great day today. It is June 7th, 2022. And I want you guys to keep battling on and keep moving. And there is a lot of good in things as you see those things, and look for the good as you go through. All right. God bless you guys, each and every one of you, and battle on.